This is Arun Bhardwaj representing Efficient Manufacturing and Automation and Digitization magazines. Today we are going to discuss about electric vehicle or e-mobility roadmap policy, which was launched by Government of India's Principal Scientific Advisor Dr. Ajay Sood on 16th of July. So I have two representation. One is Shirish Kulkarni, who is the industry leader, and Sanju Tiwari. So we are going to discuss this. It's going to be a very interesting discussion about, because both of them carries a huge experience into the field. So this was launched on 16th of July, which is the parallel of EV policy. This is the roadmap of R&D. What do you think? Have you gone through, Shirish, on this, and what do you think how it's?
Actually, it's a very good step ahead as we see adoption of EV. As such, if you draw two-wheeler, three-wheeler, four-wheeler, and also the large-size vehicles, adoption is around 6 to 7% now. If you average it out, it's more on two-wheeler and three-wheeler, and passenger is around 3 to 4% and all that. It is definitely required to boost that up. Policy is definitely there as a framework to government to boost the business on the manufacturing side, bring the investments which are required to really get there where need is there for smaller businesses as well as larger businesses. You would see two-wheeler now giants like Ola and Ather. Ola is already setting up a gigafactory and coming up with IPO. So funds is definitely critical requirement. Second part that policy talks about is also reducing imports or control on the imports, encouraging exports. So that control is also getting established. It talks about largely about R&D spends also, R&D focus required, R&D enablement required, because if you see back the larger companies who are already auto manufacturers like Tata Motors or Mahindra are actually setting up a roadmap where they see a success, say for Nexon, for Tata Motors, and Curve also coming in a big way, which will be creating a vibe. But for the other OEMs or smaller entities, which are quite large, if you see MSME spend on MSME portion of EV as a thing, it could be around 35 to 40% of the present. So that is also required to be engaged, encouraged. So I think overall this policy is not only going to have that enablement for the manufacturers. Also, if you look at FAME as FAME 1, 2, and now 3, and there is an enabler that they are planning in the form of electric mobility promotion scheme for two-wheelers, mainly for the two-wheelers, for the end users. So adoption, which is an important part, where demand has to be there for whatever we are going to talk about, is also key to success. As well, there are elements of how infrastructural elements like charging structures are also key elements that we are talking about. So I think it's comprehensive. It's a well taken step. Around 4150, crores, 1,000 crores are being talked about. There is a question, how it will get consumed and how we can get it to the right pockets, right hands. But I think it's indeed very, very welcome.
Thank you. So, Sanju, I have a question for you. When this policy is or the roadmap is created, and Shirish has just talked about the alignment of Mahindra, Tatas, and others, since you are the suppliers to them, do you think that this policy and the industry in sync? Because Mahindra has, or the Tata has their own policy to achieve. If the government policies are aligned to the manufacturers, R&D facilities?
The alignment of the government in being at par with the alignment of the OEMs per se in India is highly not practical, to be honest. Because every OEM has their own alignment and own policies, own roadmaps. Now, for the government to be able to cater to all the OEMs across the board and be aligned with that, I don't think that is going to be possible, because if we see, that would amount to the budget that has been allocated to the defense forces in the recent budget. So I don't think we as a government are capable, or we should be spending at par with all the OEMs put together. But yes, the step that the government has taken, 4150 crores, R&D, again a different topic of discussion altogether. It is a positive step which we all look forward to as a hopeful future for the EV industry.
This policy, R&D policy, is drafted by ARAI for Government of India. ARAI is the certification and R&D agency, as you know. So they have focused towards the R&D. This, and I don't know how much who have contributed, but yes, this policy talks about some targets to be achieved by 2030, 2040 and 2070. 40% they are talking about 2030.
And 2070.
Contrary to this, there is a report in Times of India last week that 51% owners of EV vehicles are shifting, especially the cars, thinking to shift back to the petrol cars. As per both of you, what could be the reason? And is it the right news? Is it some kind of hype, or is it really infrastructure problem which people? Because technology wise, I don't think there is any issue. But maybe they are charging infrastructure or whatever it is. Leave apart two-wheeler, because two-wheeler you can charge at home, you can do it. But when you go to a public charging system, you use the DC power. And DC power, if you go, there is a startup which we interviewed last week, Clean Energy. They have a charging system which can charge your vehicle in 12 minutes.
Fast charging.
Fast charging. That will reduce the life of the battery. Right. So what could be the reason this Times of India's report, personally, what is your understanding about it? Is that going to create a buzz?
So let me take that. If we take it back to context of what has happened in the US or in Europe, US also has faced this kind of a pushback for electric vehicles, found stranded, found left, found not being able to get charged, specifically into a cold weather situation where vehicles.
Yeah, that also matters.
Right.
Yes.
So, and that was a very specific kind of instance which kind of pushed electric vehicle movement back.
Okay.
And also the notion that you call it pure green.
It is not.
And again questioning that, whether green is real green or not. In India, if you see the reason the thing is rolling further, and I was highlighting why there is a sale that we are seeing for vehicles in four-wheeler, three-wheeler and two-wheelers, is now the support of any subsidy is getting removed. It's only on the demand supply base. So it is running purely on the business sense. Whoever is capable of buying Nexon at 22 lakh rupees and sees that kind of a ROI for himself or herself and able to see that, I am saving this much of money and I can afford, I want to have this kind of features that the car provides, goes and buys it. It is not on the hype and blindfolded approach of reaching green or things like that. The curve, if we see the way that the product works, it goes up and initially only the innovators buy the product. That part is now stabilized, where if we see more than 1.5 lakhs of Nexons, total 1.6 millions of electric vehicles in India on the road, that product has got established. Now there will be also pushback whenever there is something new, like Ola in the beginning is said to have serious problems with fires, and it was kind of also shown in the positive and negative way.
That's one of the incident can happen, and but that could be a various reason to it.
And it gets blown also.
That will not deter the people to buy the
absolutely
electric vehicles.
You go back and check on Nano was getting launched, and you will find a negative publicity of Nano not being able to get up the
I
hills.
was about to bring that up because when Nano was launched, it was like, I mean, everywhere nanos are getting blasted, is what the news used to
Right.
be. And till date, we do see nanos moving around, slowly they'll come and park near to us. So when Nano was being launched, I got the opportunity to work for some of the PCB assemblies to Tata Motors through one of my previous companies before the launch itself. And we were very positive about what we were building that time, jointly along with Tata Motors. Of course, it was their project. As an ecosystem, we were supporting them. So the news, once it started floating, one news comes out and you have a hell rain of news that will follow without any proper research, proper study and proper stuff. So I think similar way to address your point of people and the psyche moving from EV to ICE. There are a couple of reasons according to me for that. One of the major reasons being the lack of the charging infrastructure that we haven't been able to build simultaneously while building the EV vehicles. Charging stations at par with the EV vehicles that we were building should have been our priority, and simultaneously we should have done that. We have failed in doing that. I mean, it might sound pessimistic, it might sound negative, but I am just speaking out the ground and hard facts. So now, if I am buying an EV vehicle right now, say a Nexon or any other EV vehicle today, after 450 kilometers, after 470 kilometers of what the company claims, when I reach 400 kilometers, my indicators will go on. Ki, okay, now I have to find a charging station.
And if you won't find, and there is a range anxiety, one thing is
Yes.
availability of the infrastructure.
Absolutely.
Suppose you are going from here to Goa. Will you find a charger in between charging station or not? That is the question which is deterring people to buy this.
Absolutely.
I think so. Once the charging infrastructure improves, people will go. And that doesn't matter. I want to quote an example here. In 1985, my father bought a car, Maruti 800, which came, not Maruti, Suzuki, which came from Japan. Our priority number was 525. And I was driving from Chandigarh to Shimla. I stopped in between and people gathered to see the car and they said, अरे ये कहाँ चलेगी, इसमें तो ताकत ही नहीं है, इसमें तो पावर ही नहीं है. उन दिनों Fiat and Ambassador used to take the powerful vehicles, and they used to say Premier Padwani was around, I think, 1100 cc, and this was 800. And you see that has proved that has not deterred people to buy the car. That Maruti 800, so successful car. 800 has performed so well everywhere across the country. Wherever, if you go to hills or mountains, you see that no car is going wherever this Alto is going. So that kind of, I don't think once it's proved, people will deter to buy. It's a temporary phase when you think of, once the infrastructure, you rightly said, infrastructure should have come parallelly to push the market and the people's mind to buy the EV. Many people wanted to buy the EV. I spoke many people. We did a research also on this. Only range anxiety is the issue.
Correct.
And the long-term cost, nobody think about it. They think the current running cost.